Hey guys, and welcome to Besterday, where nostalgia reigns supreme. I'm Bianca, and I'm the ultimate 90s baby. But before we get into all the good stuff, I just want to let you know that this week we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I have some very special guests that's going to be coming on the podcast a little bit later. So I just want to give a little quick introduction. If you guys don't know, Besterday is a podcast where we reminisce on the songs that had your heart, the movies that made you laugh, and everything pop culture from the 80s to the early aughts. So think Game Boy Color, Power Rangers, what some other fun things, all that, and AOL dial-up. Why not? So, guys, definitely hashtag Besterday on Twitter and Instagram and wherever your heart desires. And also rate us on iTunes, give us those pretty little stars, and be sure you're following myself, Bianca and Rogue, on Twitter for all your throwback needs. All right, so we're going to kick it off in This Week in History, guys. So there's a lot of things that happened this week, so I'm just going to, roll right into it. On October 1st, 1971, Walt Disney World was opened for the first time near Orlando, Florida. On October 1st, 1992, Cartoon Network began broadcasting, and their first cartoon was actually Bugs Bunny and Rhapsody Rabbit. How cool is that? On October 1st, 2002, this is a good one for all my pop punk fans out there. Good Charlotte's The Young and the Hopeless album, which was their sophomore album, was released, and it turns 15. Congrats, guys. On October 1st, 2006, Dexter premiered on Showtime, one of the best TV shows of our generation for sure. On October 2nd, 1951, Sting was born, the iconic Sting. On October, a lot of icons coming up, just keep your wigs on tight. On October 3rd, 1969, Gwen Stefani was born. Queen Gwen Stefani, we all love her. On October 3rd, 1984, another pop icon, in my opinion anyway, some people might disagree, but Ashlee Simpson was born. She's celebrating her birthday on October 3rd. So happy early birthday, Ashlee. On October 3rd, 1992, Madonna premiered her erotica video on MTV, and obviously you guys know it caused a lot of controversy at the time. Another controversial moment on October 3rd, 1992 as well, Sinead O'Connor ripped up a photo of Pope John Paul II during her Saturday Night Live performance. On October 3rd, 2004, Desperate Housewives premiered on ABC. On October 4th, 1990, Beverly Hills 90210 premiered on Fox, another classic show. On October 4th, 1999, Breathe by Faith Hill was released, one of her signature songs, definitely. On October 5th, 2001, one of my favorite shows of all time. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you know I'm like crazy. I've been standing for the show since 2001. So it was 2011, excuse me. So it's been 6 years. American Horror Story premiered on October 5th, 2011. Classic show. If you guys haven't been watching this new season, like the cult season, you've been missing out. I mean, the first 2 episodes were a little bit boring and is like hard to lead up to, but these past 2 weeks have been, honestly, it's been ridiculous. Like, you really need to get on that for sure. Next up, October 6th, 1986, Double Dare premiered on Nickelodeon. I don't know about you guys, but I always wanted to be a contestant on Double Dare. I always thought the kids looked so cool. So, I mean, shout out to my parents for not letting me live out my dream of becoming a Double Dare contestant. On October 6, 1987, George Michael releases Faith single, another one of his signature songs, Rest in Peace to You, Legend. On October 6, 1996, American country singer Faith Hill, obviously, she got married to Tim McGraw in Rayville, Louisiana. So you guys are celebrating your 21st anniversary. Congratulations. October 7th, 1967, Toni Braxton was born. And finally, last but definitely not least, October 7th, 1997, Janet Jackson released her iconic Velvet Rope album. I mean, this album served as the foundation for, a lot of R&B albums to come. The first that comes to mind is Rihanna's Rated R. And that album is just, Janet's like kind of coming into her own, and like she's talking about, all these different topics, like abuse, drugs, sex, AIDS. Like, this was definitely a definitive album for the late 90s, and definitely, I think, yeah, it's definitely my favorite Janet album. I would say Velvet Rope is like number one, of course, and then number two would be Janet, self-titled. So yeah, guys, hashtag Besterday. Let me know what is your favorite Janet Jackson album for sure. All right, so we are going to get into some nostalgic news. All right, first up, guys, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but a reunion happened and it was very, very cool. It was actually Family Matters. The show, if you guys remember, it first premiered on September 22nd, 1989, and it wrapped up July 17th, 1998. And this marked almost 20 years since the cast, reunited for a photo. And the photo shoot was actually taken by Entertainment Weekly. And it shows, all the cast members: Jaleel White, Darius McCrae, Reginald VelJohnson, Brighton James, Thelma Hopkins, Jo Marie Payton, all of the characters that we've all come to love. And while, you guys know, I always talk about reboots every single week, but there's actually not going to be a reboot. There's still, all the characters and the actors, rather, they say they want a reunion special, but I feel like photos are enough for this. I don't know if we need an entire reboot. I can think just keep it to the photos, but let me know what you think. Family Matters wasn't my favorite show, growing up. I feel like we all kind of, in my friend circle anyway, we all kind of watched Fresh Prince, and that was like the main attraction. So I don't know, guys, let me know if you're a fan of Family Matters. We'll talk about it more on the Twitter. And next up, speaking of reboots, it's just going to be all reboots for this new segment. Sorry to break it to you, but it keeps happening, guys. I don't know what's going on in Hollywood. It's just like crazy unimagination happening. But Party of Five is going to have a reboot. I don't know who asked for this one, but it is coming. And if you guys don't know, the original series was more of a drama. It premiered in 1994 on Fox, and it ran for 6 years. And it starred... Who did Party of Five star? I'm trying to remember. I know it had... Why am I blanking right now? Who did I never watched Party of Five. So, that's what it was. It was Lacey Chabert. She went on to become a mean girl, and she also stars in Family Guy. She was like the first 2 seasons of Family Guy before Mila Kunis voiced Meg. And Party of Five also stars Scott Wolf, Matthew Fox, Neve Campbell, Jennifer Love Hewitt, a lot of rising actors at that time who ended up becoming really big in Hollywood. And Party of Five, it is a very successful series during the beginning. I mean, during the end, because I think the first 2 seasons didn't get enough ratings, but it later grew to become very kind of like culty series, and won a Golden Globe, 1996. But yeah, back to the reboot. I don't know why this is happening, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because I feel like you guys love reboots. They're actually going to have a twist on the reboot. It's actually going to be centered around a first-generation Latino family who have moved to the U.S. So it is very timely with what's going on in our political world right now, especially, with immigration being such a hot topic. So it'll be interesting to see how, modern they make the storyline once it premieres. And there's actually no set premiere date. It's still in its early stages. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on more, news about that, as it continues to roll on. And finally, in this news segment, there's going to be a Hocus Pocus reboot. Now, I wrote the article on FuseTV last week, and not only was I livid, my coworkers were livid. Shout out to Mark. The Facebook commenters, they were not having it. And I don't see why we need a Hocus Pocus reboot. Fans of this movie, which is a cult classic, we've been asking for a sequel for years. And the fact that, the original movie, it starred Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but we always wanted a sequel, and I feel like it's kind of disingenuous to have a reboot where the original stars won't even be part of the project. And it doesn't make sense to me. Like, no one asked for a reboot for this. Like, I don't want this. It's going to be okay, let's back it up real quick. The Hocus Pocus reboot is going to be a TV movie remake on Disney Channel, which makes sense because the original one was a Disney movie. But Disney Channel, you guys need to relax. Like, no one wants to see your like cleaned up, like trashy, like or imagination of the original movie. And I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me to kind of, taint a movie that so many people love. Like, it's such a there's the fans of Hocus Pocus, they're such like diehard fans of this movie, and I feel like I don't know. I don't know. Wait, what do you guys think? Like, I don't think this is necessary at all. It doesn't make sense to me. But the TV movie is going to have a new director, a new cast, is like all fresh and brand spanking new. So that means that Kenny Ortega, who directed the original movie, he's not going to be involved in the project. But David Kirshner, who he produced the original movie that came out in 1993, and he's going to be executive producing this TV remake. So there is hope that it'll be okay, because one of the original producers is going to be, taking part in the remake, but still, it's not a good look. I don't know. Just like keep things, like, is anything not sacred anymore? Like, just keep things as they are. But yeah, that's it for this week's nostalgic news segment, and we are actually going to get into, I'm so excited about this, The Darkness came in to the Fuse offices last week, where they let me know about their upcoming album, Pinewood Smile, which drops this week, actually October 6th, which is this Friday. Definitely look out for that. And yeah, let's just get into some fun chats with The Darkness. Here it is, guys. I have a very special guest here in the Fuse offices, and they are The Darkness. If you don't know them, I don't know where you've been on this planet, because they're one of the biggest rock stars in the entire world. Would you guys agree?
No.
No?
Universe, I would have said.
The universe. Okay, let me clarify that.
The biggest rock stars in the omniverse.
Right, and I have Justin Hawkins and Rufus Taylor here. Thank you guys so much for coming. This is like such a huge honor to have you guys on the podcast.
Thanks for having
really
us.
Happy.
Yeah, really kind of you. Cheers.
And if you guys don't know, The Darkness, they're coming out with their 5th album. It is coming out on October 6th, and it's called Pinewood Smile. So you guys get ready for that. How do you guys think the fans are going to be reacting to this album? Because I was listening to some of the tracks, and it kind of sounds like you guys are going back to like your glam metal roots, which I think is really cool. So how do you think the fans are going to like this album?
I think the artwork's challenging for them.
Yeah.
I think that's dividing people. But that's important to do that, I think. I think they'll respect it. When they hear it, I think they'll understand why it had to be a picture of us on the front.
Yeah.
Because it's the first time we've done that. And I think they'll realise that this is the first time we've done an album that's intrinsically has our identity stamped on it.
Yeah.
Because even on the first album, we didn't really know where we were going and what we were trying to achieve. If you listen to that first album, every song on there is like a slightly different subgenre of the sort of classic rock spectrum.
Yeah.
From really simple boogie-woogie type rock to the more sort of Roachford sounding, glamorous, layered stuff, and everything in between. But I think this album's really concise, and I think it's like, because we recorded it in quite a short time, you can really hear that it's a sort of document that states where the band is at right now, So it's important to have our faces on the front, for better or worse. And I reckon they'll love it. I reckon they'll go, oh, this is The Darkness.
Yes. You guys like solidified your identity with this one. Because, I mean, you guys been in the game since 2003. Your debut album came out. So I think, after 14 years, you kind of, like solidified your sound and you know who you are. So it's really cool to see.
Also, because we had a break, and then we've had like a personnel matter that we've had to address.
Yeah. That was in like 2006, I think?
We had a break in 2006, and then we've had 3 different drummers since 2009. And now we've got Rufus, and Rufus, we've installed Rufus as fully fledged super member.
Fully comped.
Yeah, how do you feel about being the new drummer in the band? Was it easy to adjust, or?
Yeah, they made it easy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit nerve-wracking at the beginning, especially the first night. But then we kind of hit the ground running as soon as I met the guys, and we had a few dates organised straight away after that first gig. So I had to learn quite a lot of songs, about 20-something songs, I
Oh,
think,
wow.
in the first 2 days.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, well, yeah. But they've made it really easy for me, and it's been great ever since.
Cool. And I know you guys are going to be going on tour next year, starting on March 29th. I want to know, like, are there any, like, weird tour moments that you guys had, like, either on stage or backstage? Like, I don't know, like, you wanted to use a bathroom really bad, but you couldn't. Like, anything wacky that has happened.
Bathroom.
Yeah.
You want to hear about
Yes.
bathroom
Yeah.
stuff?
Ooh. Do you want to go there?
What?
Could go there,
Where are we
yeah.
going? Do you know?
You know where I want to go.
A bathroom tale?
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
You mean
People
that time
want
in
to
America
know.
when I came
Yeah.
out? and then
I can't think of another better one, really.
when I came out to meet because we've got this sort of VIP package that we
Yeah.
try and it makes tours more profitable, and also it's a good opportunity to sort of meet the fans and all that stuff. And so they come along to the sound check. Where were we again? It's the place. It was like an arts. It said art on the outside in a big sort of installation. Do you remember?
I can't remember that bit. I'm just remembering the moment.
Which moment?
You're thinking of a different one, I think.
Oh, I'm talking about when I came out and I had like some toilet paper stuck in the back of my catsuit,
Oh, no.
which led all the way back to the urinal
Yeah.
and poop area.
Ew. It's not too classy.
No, it wasn't. But luckily, there were only 200 people there, all staring at my thing and sort of going,
Yes, that's
Yeah.
a plus.
the paper.
I'm just like picturing this in my head.
Yeah.
You having the roll of paper behind you. So funny.
And what were you talking about?
You
then?
probably don't want.
No,
What was
I
it?
want to know now. What's the story?
Come on.
Honestly,
don't know
so
what I'm
many
talking
bathroom things have happened. I can't remember.
Okay, I'm gonna say one word.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Triangle.
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 Metal triangle.
Where was this metal triangle?
Come on. You
No,
know what I'm
I
talking
don't know what you're
about.
doing.
serious?
Yeah.
Okay, you were weighing up options.
Okay.
Do you want to go there?
Yeah, why not? But
Yes,
you
do
asked.
it.
You
Yeah.
asked. Okay,
I'm
so
very curious.
we played in Boston, and obviously Boston's a really good town for us.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
went to college there. It's really
Okay,
cool.
yeah, I mean it's whenever we play there, it sells out, and it's really a good night, And
Mhm.
so we parked the van up, and we did 2 nights in the Paradise, I suppose it was.
Yeah.
And but the problem is that like if we had played some other place, the van, the bus would be driving from
Yeah.
one city to another. You'd have an opportunity to use a bathroom, like in the services, or you'd go to a hotel or something.
Mhm.
But we just parked up outside the venue. The venue was locked, and I needed to make
Everywhere around it
stool.
was locked.
Oh,
There was
no.
nothing open.
Nothing.
Yikes.
So Rufus and I had to contrive a scenario where I was able
Mhm.
to release the stool.
Okay.
And he was presented with 2 options.
Our tour manager
tour
suggested go to the bathroom on the bus, and the cardinal sin, of course, is to make a number 2
Mhm.
in the bus toilet.
That's a
It's
no-go.
Just even if
Yeah.
you're the singer, that's frowned upon.
Okay, that's good to
Um,
know.
And if
Yeah.
you're anybody else, you're not allowed to do it at all.
Yeah.
And
Got
I
it.
didn't want people to frown at me, so I took option 2, which was
But
to go.
option, wait. Option 1 was to use a bag
Like
of
Oh.
some sort
Okay.
and then dispose of it, or get him to dispose of it.
Yeah.
And option 2 was my suggestion, and that was in between the tour bus and the trailer. There's like a metal connecting thing,
Okay.
and it kind of forks off into a triangle like that, and it connects there, and it's got like a line in the middle.
So I placed my buttocks upon the triangle
Oh.
of doom, and unleashed stool within the vacuum or the void between the 3
Yeah.
pillars of the triangle.
Well, it sounds like a better option than
Yeah, I
option
I was
one.
keeping guard as well,
Yeah,
because there were people
Yeah.
walking past.
and there were there's a
Good
lot of sort of
friend. Yeah.
vague other kinds of pellets and other
Mm.
droppings out there anyway, because there's
Yeah.
you got the animals of the city like the foxes and
Mm.
like if there's a runaway badger or something like that.
Yeah.
you'll
Helping
find-
nature.
Yeah, and just I just contributed to the funk that is Boston.
Wow.
Yeah, so
So you're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry if you guys listening were eating while you were hearing
Oh,
the story,
yeah.
but Thanks for sharing.
Bon appetit.
All right, so we're gonna kick it off with some fun music. Solid Gold. I was listening to it this week, and I immediately thought AC/DC. Like, it has a very like classic rock feel, and I feel like it'd be so fun for karaoke. So I wanted to know, like, what was the recording process when you guys were doing that track?
We recorded the backing track in London, like all the other songs. This is before the
I
studio.
mean you're talking about the writing.
Oh, sorry. Did you
mean
say
the recording or the writing?
The recording process.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, the recording process.
We had this beautiful studio in where was it?
Stratford upon Avon is sort of where William Shakespeare.
Oh, cool.
Old Bill.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful, beautiful studio. This guy called Matt Terry.
He's a producer of other kinds of music, like indie music and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he owns this amazing place. It's his house, and it's right in the countryside. It's beautiful. It's surrounded by like 3 connecting lakes, but one half of the house is this really old, sort of ancient-looking church.
I think it's called the Priory, wasn't it? The actual studio.
Yeah. Oh,
Was it?
I can't remember.
I don't know.
Anyway, we called it Pigeon Studios.
Oh yeah, because it was called. Somebody said, we wanted to do sort of, blogs and stuff from the studio.
Got it.
But we didn't want to tell people where the studio was. We didn't want people descending upon us with gifts and, flowers and things from well wishes. We wanted to just focus on the work, so we called it Century Pigeon Studios. Oh. But it's not called that in real life.
But yeah, so this old section of the house, this old church, sort of like half a church kind of thing, that was the studio. He had that built into the studio, so it was this beautiful room. And we later found out that Henry VIII used to go there. And
wow, all these
Henry VIII
people.
did his first solo album in that studio.
Look at that.
It had green sleeves on it as well.
Yeah, never did well though.
No. Just that one hit, but that's all you need, isn't it?
Didn't stick on the charts.
Yeah.
No.
Man, such a bummer.
And yet we all remember his name. So.
Yeah.
Great songwriter.
But it was the recording process was easy and smooth.
Yeah, it was actually the backing tracks, like the drums, bass, and rhythm guitar, were all recorded at the same time.
Okay.
And then the next morning I would sing the song, and then we'd go on and do the next backing track. So we didn't sort of build up anything until all the backing tracks were down and the lead vocals, so that we knew what kind of album we wanted to make based on the. Because sometimes all the vocals happen right at the end after all the guitar overdubs and synthesizer parts and stuff. But it was different this time. We did it all in the first couple of weeks, and and then made it more better after that.
Yeah, and now you have a potential hit on your hands. So, guys, we are going to preview a bit of Solid Gold right now. That was Solid Gold. I hope you enjoyed it. And we're going to get into All the Pretty Girls. And this song is, it's kind of quintessential to Darkness, I feel like. You guys have the quirky lyrics and the really catchy riff. And this is the opening track on the album. So why did you guys decide to use this track to open the new record?
That was Rufus's idea, actually.
Oh, smart move.
Rufus and I were the most proactive when it came to trying to work out the track listing. But we almost agreed. The only thing that we didn't agree on was whether Buccaneers or All the Pretty Girls should be the first number that you hear.
You don't want to blow your load too early, do you? You want
to
ease in there.
Getting back to the music.
Keep it kind of PG, Rufus. Come on. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
So Ru was correct. He said that should be the opener. It was his idea. He's right, because I think as the album progresses from now on, it gets a bit more elaborate, a bit more layered, perhaps. So that's like a really simple riff,
And it starts with a massive scream from Justin, which is
It was brilliant.
You can't go wrong with that.
And I want to know, Justin, like, do you get into a certain character when you're recording these songs? Because I mean, just talking to you right now, like you seem very mellow and chill, but
No, that's
I'm raging on the inside.
when you get on a track, it's like a total character, which is awesome. But like, do you kind of have to like put yourself in that mindset?
Nope, that's just him.
That's just
I'll
you.
answer that.
But it's so cool. I mean, that's why the fans love you so much, because you have such like a banging personality. Like it's very out there. which is
I
awesome.
actually asked Justin when we were coming up with the when he was coming up with the lyrics for Solid Gold, if he would feel comfortable, talking about that and how we're. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
How we're fucking legends and stuff like that.
Do you
I said,
believe
"Are you
that
sure you're going to
fact?
feel comfortable?"
Yeah.
He just very simply, very quietly just said, "I've never been more comfortable in my life."
I love it. Do you guys believe you're legends at this moment? I mean, you guys been in the game for 14 years. Like, I feel like you've reached that status. What do you think?
I mean, I'm new to this.
You're definitely a legend. Definitely. Legendary. He's a legendary guy, legendary drummer. But
Or do you think you'll
I'll tell you what it is, right?
Yeah.
When years ago, before the band took off,
Mm-hmm.
I was quite timid and humble. And then I would go on stage and I would sort of become this guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it, really. So what I decided to do was, when I opened Pandora's box of ego and use it to dance and beguile and entertain, just leave the lid off. Just let the air get to it. Let the monster become all-encompassing, so that when I'm walking down the road, I'm just like, yes, I'm awesome. That's right, it's me. And then you're signing like credit card receipts and saying, "Who's it to?" and that kind of stuff. You just have to get into the. And I genuinely believe that it was a bit like method acting. And by the end of like a very short process, like maybe 6 months, I went from wanting to be a rock star to being a rock star and just waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. And I think that if you believe in it and you live it, and it's not just saying, yeah, I'm awesome. It's way more than that. It's a lifestyle choice, really, and it is method acting. It's like you have to consider every word you say, every step you take, every breath you fake, or how's it go? And then you know what I mean? Like, and everything has to be done knowing that you are that person. And people who buy into your art have to have an expectation of you as a personality that's creating it. It has to be aspirational. I've got no interest in being the boy next door. I'm the guy in the big house at the end of the road with the big gates and a fast car behind it.
Love that. Nice.
Wearing a cat suit.
Of course. What else would you be wearing?
But I think that what we do is aspirational. Like we're talking about. It's not necessarily a genre, like a decade or even like a genre. It's got to be aspirational, escapist music. Like when you used to want to be a rock star, you used to want to have private jets, champagne on ice and all that stuff, and all the things that people used to sing about and aspire to. That's us. That's what we do on a daily basis. And if we don't, we're cheating our audience. They want us to do that, and we have been elected by them to be the purveyors of that kind of music, and it's our job to do the job. Be out there.
Cool, love it. So before we get into more like throwback stuff, I want to play a little bit of All the Pretty Girls. So you guys gonna hear it right now.
Startled by some peculiar twist of fate. Don't know how it happened, but I'm punching above my weight. I'm pinching myself, you're nothing like the girls I usually get. Everyone assumes that I bought you off the internet. All the pretty girls, right before.
All right, so let's talk about another track on the album, Southern Trains.
Yes.
How did that one come about?
Well,
It's become a news story, weirdly, isn't it? This is quite topical because part of the brilliantly privatised rail network in the UK is called Southern Rail, and that's what it's really about. I made a mistake because I thought it was called Southern Trains. I never actually looked at what it said on the side of the thing. It said Southern Rail, so I've made a terrible mistake, which is probably good because we'd probably get sued for defamation or something like that for saying how bad the services are. But now in the Metro in the UK, they've printed a piece about how disgruntled we are with the network, and quotes us as saying that. Yeah, and then like a follow-up piece where the man in the street has said, "I agree with Justin from Darkness that trains are rubbish." So I'm sort of it's like the nearest thing to a protest song that we've ever done, really. And it wasn't sort of I don't know. It's just about trying to get somewhere on a train.
Yeah, but you weren't trying to make it like an intentional protest song.
It's not supposed to be. It was not supposed to be topical. It's just something that we were feeling in the moment. I half expected Southern Trains to sort their lives out and make it work by the time the album came out, but they haven't done that, and it's getting worse. And people need the protest song now, and we're ready to release one. So it's quite lucky, really.
Cool. Well, you guys, I'm gonna hear a little bit of it right now. So let's play some Southern Train. Alright guys, we are back, and I want to take it back to 2003 with I Believe in a Thing Called Love. I think that was my first time hearing about The Darkness, and I'm sure it was a lot of people's first time hearing about you guys. But did you think, Justin, that song was going to be as big as it was when it first came out? It was a global hit.
Well, I remember when we wrote it.
Yeah.
And I just sort of played the first couple of chords, and I knew that there was magic in it, you know. Because it sort of wrote itself, and the momentum of the song just sort of everything was natural, and it's really easy to write and just fun to play.
Yeah, and fun to sing. I still can't hit that high note on the
No, me neither. So don't worry about it. I get it like 75% of the time. You know, but it's but yeah, I knew immediately that it was a special song.
Yeah,
you know. I mean, we've written lots of songs, and I've done lots of jingles and stuff, and it can be really a laborious, painstaking process. And it's sort of, because you know what the formula is, you know what you want to hear in a song and stuff. But when it writes itself and it's just urging you along, it's great. And and everybody else in the band was going, wait, you can't do that. You can't say that thing about steering wheel. That's a stupid, stupid lyric. And I was like, yeah, but that's the point.
Exactly.
That is exactly the point. It's like, it's stupid and it's broad and anybody can relate to it and it's fun. Fun to sing, fun to say. Funny, it looks funny written down as well.
Yeah.
It's got everything really. And as soon as we started playing it in rehearsals, all the management and everyone who worked for us knew it was going to be a hit. The label knew it was going to be a hit. Our friends knew it was going to be a hit. Our audience knew it was going to be a hit. It was a highlight of the show from the first moment we played it. And when we did the sort of dropout bit with the clapping over their head, everybody was doing it in the pub. You know,
I love that.
all 20 people there were doing it. And then next week there were 25 people. Week after that, 24 people. One of them was ill. Then week after that, 37 people. And it grew and grew and grew. And it's all because of that song. And I knew it as soon as I wrote it.
Yeah, that is so awesome.
Sorry.
So awesome.
Am I supposed to be humble at that point? I have no idea. No idea.
What humble means?
No, what is that word? Is it like a humblebee?
And I remember watching the video. I think it played on Fuse quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the first moments where like I kind of realized that like rock stars are probably one of the coolest people ever, because that video was just so wacky. Like you were like in the universe and you had your cat suit and your chest was all out and you were wearing like a flower crown. It was just
I had a
crazy.
Flower crown.
Like what was that like recording that video? Like it had to be a lot of fun on set.
Well, sometimes it was fun because unlike a lot of videos are sort of CGI based. We've done some like that on the second album that were mostly computerized and stuff, and you're not really aware of what you're making until the end. But that one was fun because everything was built. You know, there was carpenters on set, and it was a big, expensive production.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd get an opportunity to make a video like that now if you're an emerging band, you know, because it's, you know, people. It's just going to be people looking at it on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but in those days, you'd be on the telly and it'd be a significant catalyst for sales. You know, so they really invested heavily in it. And we worked with a guy called Jim Friedlander, he was the son of the man who made K9 from Doctor Who.
Oh, nice.
Do you remember that? It was like a robot dog. And so this guy had, you know, prop making in his blood, and he was making all of our monsters and, you know, the sort of the furry character and all the other things you see in there, the big squid. You know, so we had really good people working on it, and Alex Smith directed it. It was just a long day, but we knew it was going to be good because you could see it. You could see everything. You know, we were interacting with physical objects that were there.
That's so cool.
And so we knew we could feel it was going to be good.
Nice. And like I said prior, that song was such a big hit, you know, all around the world. But I think as you guys, you know, graduated throughout your career, I've noticed that you had more success overseas and, of course, in the UK. And I've noticed that a lot about UK bands as well. Like, it's kind of hard to stick in North America. Like, do you find that a little bit difficult to kind of
Well, I think the process of breaking America, as they say, is quite time-consuming because it's such a big country. You have to spend a lot of time in the various different territories, and the audience is so diverse that you don't, you know, what works in one, you know, county isn't going to work 20 miles down the road, you know. So it's it takes a lot of effort and time to get the proper coverage and expose yourself indecently to everybody in the country, you know. That's why a lot of bands don't bother, because the other thing is, you know, if you're successful in the UK, that's a huge market.
Oh, for sure.
Really quite lucrative.
Yeah.
And if you have hits there, your time, it seems like your time is better spent playing to the audience you've already got rather than trying to find a new one somewhere else, you know.
And are you satisfied, like, with the amount of success that you have so far? Or, like, do you want to, like, make it even bigger?
No, not satisfied in the slight.
Yeah.
I feel like we deserve more, you know. I feel like I made some errors over the years, and I need to make amends for that and make it better.
Yeah, well,
for Rufus's sake.
Yeah, now's a chance with this new album. So, and I wanted to bring this up too. I was reading an interview from The Killers, and they said that a lot of new rock bands rising right now, they're not as good as the rock bands, you know, like the Strokes era, like Interpol. So, like, what are your thoughts about kind of like the new generation of rock groups that are out right now? Do you think they'll have that success as, like, you guys had and, you know, other bands had in the past, or is it, like, a bit stagnant right now?
I don't know. I mean, there's bands that are massive, and then I've never heard a single note of music, and I'm not because I don't listen to music, but just because their sphere doesn't enter mine, or I don't enter theirs. I'm talking about, like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of an example. I mean, I worked with a band called 5 Seconds of Summer. Do you know that band?
Yeah, 5 Seconds of Summer. Yeah, they were in our studio a few months ago.
Lovely guys. And I did some writing with them, and they are enormous. I mean, they're just enormous numbers on their social media and stuff. But I've never heard a note of the music, and I've worked with them. You know what I mean? It's
I feel like sometimes social media kind of takes over a bit from the actual musicianship sometimes too.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's, you know, each platform has a very specific audience.
Definitely.
And you really have to, I don't know, I suppose some bands are Snapchat bands, some bands are Instagram bands, some bands are Twitter bands, some bands are Facebook bands, most bands are Facebook bands.
Yeah.
But I haven't got a Facebook, I haven't got Snapchat, you know. I'm an old guy. So
Get
all the things that I used to rely on
Justin.
for music exposure is gone now.
Yeah.
It's strange, isn't it?
So what are some bands that you guys are listening to right now? Like both, you know, new and
5 Seconds of
classic?
Summer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got some friends called Vintage Trouble.
Okay.
Who are very good. I love listening to all their stuff. They're phenomenal. But other than that, I don't really keep my ear to the ground.
Is it because you guys are just like kind of just focused? Like when you were recording your music, that's all like you were
I mean,
listening
yeah.
to?
I mean, when you're doing that, that's
Yeah.
that's all you're on. But in spare time, I just don't want to be offensive, but turn on the radio and all I hear is shit.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah,
and like
it's
being
kinda
a
depressing,
journalist,
and it makes
it's
you
just
not
like,
want to
it's
go
not
out searching,
inspiring.
and
I think it's particularly
Yeah.
bad in England, actually, in the radio.
Oh, why do you think that?
Well, it used to be the other way around. Like,
like
it used to be a worry that you'd go to America and it'd be like, oh, you can't say that on the radio, you can't sing that on the radio. And then I think it was the FCC? Was that the governing board for
Yeah.
censorship?
Yeah.
They used to be quite stringent about the things that you could put in videos, for example. Like you couldn't smoke, couldn't drink, you couldn't be seen, eating butter and then being able to skateboard better and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's all there's
So restricting.
quite stringent and
Yeah.
restricting. And so it meant that you ended up creating water, in order to be successful. And that's not what anybody wants to do,
Yeah.
But it's all changed now. And I think because the governing bodies haven't been able to restrict the new media, as it were, in the same way, you can swear, you can eat butter and then be better at skateboarding. You can
I love this butter reference.
you can I don't know what I'm talking. You can rub wool on your face
Yeah.
and then there'll be a cow going, "Way," all that stuff. And anything you like, hooves. You can have a hoof just on your shoulder there, and then it just says a word, and then everyone's clapping. All that stuff is fine, and you can get away with it. But in England, it's still traditional radio, like it's BBC, and it's all the other perverts. It's rubbish. And if you don't get on there, you're not going to get the exposure that you can achieve. Like, for example, with a good podcast in America, or with Sirius XM, something like that, where you can actually be yourself and enjoy your moment in the sun, because God knows it doesn't last long.
Yeah. You're so poetic, Justin. It's very inspiring.
Haven't slept much.
Right, this is my last question for you guys. Throughout your journey, I know you've only been in for a few years, but throughout this course of your career, is there anything that you would have changed, like would have done differently, or like anything that you regret, or are you fine with how the trajectory has been so far?
Well, you're powerless, really, aren't you? I mean, you can't change any of that stuff. And I've come to the realization that the mistakes that I've made in the past were things that I was always going to do at some point, so I would have cocked it up eventually. It's probably good that I did it so early, because I'm still young and beautiful enough to try again.
Yeah.
Try and make amends for the,
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming. This was The Darkness, and be sure to look out for their new album, Pinewood Smile, on October 6th. Any final words?
Oh, yes, and don't forget to come and see us on tour. We're playing all across the Americas, beginning in Los Angeles on the 29th of March, and we're going to end up in Dallas on the 2nd of May, and we're going to all these different places in between. Las Vegas, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, Salt Lake City, Englewood, Kansas City, Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, Toronto, Montreal, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Sayreville, I still don't believe that's a real place, Boston, Baltimore, Norfolk, Charlotte, Atlanta, New Orleans, Austin, and so on and so forth. Love you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll put like all of the tour information, everything, once the podcast goes live.
Oh yeah, forget about what I just said then, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's nice for them to hear too. All right. Thanks, you guys, once again, for coming out. And definitely, you guys look out for their new album on October 6th. Bye.
Thank you.
All right. We are back. And I hope you guys enjoyed that really, really fun interview with The Darkness. Aren't they like the coolest guys ever? If you haven't seen our Twitter and our Instagram and feeds, we have a little bit of like a sneak peek photo shoot that we did with the guys. So definitely look out for that. And yeah, I'll like put in all the information about their upcoming tour and more album details, once this podcast goes live. And yeah, so let's actually get into the song of the week. Why not? Okay, guys, we are back with the song of the week. Woo, woo, woo. You guys definitely know this is my favorite segment of the entire podcast. I mean, The Darkness, you know, they're awesome, but there's something about the song of the week that kind of just, you know, makes me so happy because it's all about throwback music, which, you know, I thrive off of, if you guys know. And I think I'm going to bring it back to 2003 just because The Darkness, I believe in a film called Love, their debut single came out in 2003. So why not go back in time 14 years ago? And I think I'm going to choose an R&B song, actually. And it is Ashanti's "Oh Baby, Ooh Baby, no stopping me and take it to the top of me. I just wanna love you, baby, always thinking of you, baby." If you guys don't know that iconic song, I am talking about Ashanti's "Rock With You." And that song came out in 2003, obviously, and it was off her sophomore album, Chapter 2. And it was a hit smash. I mean, it was on the radio all the time. I remember watching Making the Video on MTV, such a classic song, like where she's riding the elephant, she's on the beach, you know, being all sexy. And the song, trying to see how successful the song was. It landed on, it peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. So obviously did very, very well. And it was eventually certified gold. So that's awesome. So yeah, shout out to Ashanti for, you know, giving us such a great, it feels like a great summery song, which is why I chose it, because I'm kind of sad that summer is officially over. So this song kind of reminds me of, like, you know, the breezy summer days. So yeah, guys, that is a wrap for this week's episode of Besterday. Like I said prior, definitely hashtag Besterday on Twitter and Instagram, or wherever your heart desires. Also, please rate us on iTunes. It's very, very important to kind of get us out in the atmosphere. And definitely follow myself, Bianca, and Rogue on Twitter. Yeah, follow The Darkness too as well on Twitter, at The Darkness. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week for a very pop culture relevant episode, very TV centric, very game changing, very blinged out. I'm trying to give some teasers before I actually say anything. But yeah, definitely look out for next week's episode. It's going to be a really, really cool one. So yeah, catch me on Twitter, guys. Bye.